know holiday week. I know that we had to move the in-service training date because of some other conference commitments that we had. So we really do appreciate you being with us tonight. I'm going to start out by just going over a couple of online policies that we want to refresh you on. And I'm going to start, if we could go to Mandy's computer, Lois. I'm going to start with her and her computer. And I want to go through the instructor evaluation with you all so that you can see what we're measuring and how that feeds into the emails that you receive from me or Mandy on a weekly or as needed basis and your online observations.
Okay, I've made Mandy the presenter. She just needs to, there you go.
Okay, so Mandy, it is a little bit small. Can you make it larger for us? There you go. So on a weekly basis, Mandy goes through each of your online courses, and oftentimes we'll just randomly select instructors. Recently, though, we've seen some issues, and so we've started doing every instructor that's teaching a course and every course that they're teaching. So we're looking for specific items on a weekly basis, and they fall into expectations for online instructors. So the first is grading. Within the grading, we require that you have your grades complete on Wednesdays. We do allow for Thursdays in class sizes that are large. So if you have 20, 25 students, we would allow for Thursdays. We do know, however, that when you're doing your attendance reporting on Thursday mornings or late Wednesday nights, that you're putting in your grades. And so we would ask that in all instances or most instances, if possible, you can have those grades complete by Wednesday nights. However, you wouldn't be penalized if you had them on Thursdays. As well, we're looking for those zeros. So if a student doesn't submit assignments, the system automatically would put a dash in there. We're looking for zeros. So we're looking at each of your courses to ensure that that zero is there within the grading. The second column is the discussion column. Within the discussion, there are several items that we're looking for, and you can see some comments next to the columns, and it's talking about those discussion posts. And so there are comments, and that's when you're getting feedback from us. So within the discussion post, we're looking to see that the instructor is the first to post in the thread. Generally, this is done through your launch post, and those launch posts are due on Saturdays. We're also looking for a summary post. Typically, we like to see those summary posts on Friday evening, and those just summarize the discussion throughout the week. We're looking on the semester side to see that you're engaged in that discussion post 15%, but not to exceed a total of 10 posts. On the term side, it does differ a little bit. We've stuck with 8, and we'll continue to stick with 8 for the term individuals. And then we're looking to see that our instructors are posting 4 to 5 times on different days throughout the week, including one weekend day. And so you see those comments on these instructors: no summary, 7 posts or 10.8%, no weekend posts, an additional 9 posts or 13.6%, and then no weekend posts. So we are looking at that pretty diligently. The next column is announcements. We're looking to see that you post that weekly announcement in there. And then there's a final category that we're looking at, and that's communication. On the communication, we ask that you respond to a student within 24 hours. In some instances, and on weekends, we would expect a 48-hour. I say some instances, this is a holiday weekend, 48 hours, we may see some delays in that 48 hours, but most of the time we want to see that 24 to 48-hour range. When we don't see that information, I get this report, and then I will start emailing the instructors. Typically, if it's a one-off situation, so I see an instructor that is in week 7 and maybe their discussion posts are at 13% for the week, but they have green squares. Green indicates good, red indicates an issue. If I see green squares, I wouldn't email that instructor. But if I see continuous week after week, I would notify that instructor that we had an issue. Again, these are expectations that are established when you take the position as an online instructor for Eagle Gate College or Provo College. It is in your online orientation. If you need to revisit that online orientation, it should be in your course dropdown, and those expectations are outlined in there. As well, I'm going to start sending out more thorough reminder emails. I do look at these reports, and I pull up several of them, several semesters worth of reports when I'm looking at your online observations, and I assume that Lois is doing the same thing. And so your scores on your online observations, which are done at least annually, would reflect this and the inconsistency in some of these areas. We are monitoring it closely. Again, we were randomly pulling instructors. We started seeing some issues and ongoing issues, and they became more frequent. And so we are looking at every instructor in every course, and you're going to start receiving those emails from me. Ongoing issues obviously would indicate that maybe Eagle Gate College is not the right organization for you, and we would have that discussion, okay? That is it in terms of this report. The next item that I want to go over with you is the attendance. So I've started to see some issues with attendance, and I know there's some variable reports in Canvas. I just want to remind you that attendance is important with Eagle Gate College, and that attendance issues have Title IV implications. Title IV are those Pell Grants and that the student loans that we receive. Everything off of our Title IV funding is generated by that attendance report. If a student's not in class, we have to very quickly identify that they're not in class and then withdraw them according to our attendance policy. Where we're seeing issues is students are receiving attendance, and then when we go back in and audit that student, we notice that a student received an attendance in a course and shouldn't have, and then we're withdrawing the student. We're 7 days delayed on withdrawing that student, and then that postpones our refund calculation, which could lead to some other issues with our Title IV funding. We don't want to be in jeopardy with our Title IV funding, so we ask that you are diligent in your attendance posting, and that as soon as you identify that you've made a mistake, that you notify myself or Toby or Mandy so that we can correct that issue. We are looking at, the good news is that we are looking at some automated attendance with the acquisition of Unitech. They are going over to Canvas as well, and in that Canvas transition, they're looking at ways to automate that attendance reporting so that it just speaks from Canvas to Campus View, and there's no work that has to be done on our end or on your end. I also want to point out that attendance this week is due on Thursday morning. There's not going to be a single person on campus on Thursday morning checking your attendance, nor is there anybody through the remainder of the weekend that's checking your attendance. So I ask that you post your attendance no later than Monday morning for both attendance sessions. So the Monday through Wednesday, and then Thursday through Sunday, no later than Monday morning at 9 a.m. If you had issues with that deadline, go ahead and shoot me an email and I can take care of your attendance for you on Monday morning. Any questions related to attendance? Awesome, I'm just going to keep going. The next item on my list is rubrics. Rubrics are important. We are looking at the rubrics and the feedback that you provide to the students. We ask that if there's a rubric available, that you use it. If you don't like it, then we would ask that you provide feedback to us rather than avoiding use of it. And then I'm going to have Mandy just walk through very quickly the use of the rubric within Canvas.
First, though, I want to add something to your comments about the report that I run. And that is that the idea of, whoa, as I throw my phone across the room, the idea of there being dashes, which you can see right here, these two have dashes. It seems like a really benign issue, but it's actually very consequential. If there is a dash, it does not factor into the student's total score, which can give them an inflated sense of what they're going to end up with. And then at the end of the course, if you go fill them all in with zeros, it dramatically lowers their score, and then they're not happy. So that being said, how to use the rubrics. We have rubrics for pretty much everything in Canvas. If we don't, let me know and we'll look into it. But the reason that we have them is so that we are consistent, that the students are being graded fairly across all of their courses. And we have worked, and by we, I mean Lois has worked very hard at creating these rubrics and making sure that they are relevant. So most people are using them, but some people aren't. And I think that you guys maybe just don't know how, or that it's even an option. So I'm going to show you how. So in this particular discussion question, I'm going to go into the SpeedGrader. From here, you would click on this View Rubric right here, and then drag the line, maybe, so that you can actually see it. Now, over here, this is an excellent post, except where I forgot to cite my source. Okay, so that's my example. So in this case, all you literally have to do is go click, there's no support. Let's say everything else is perfect. I'm just going to click on all of this stuff, and already, there's your grading. So all you have to do is click on whichever column is relevant to whatever they have done, and you're done.
All right, thanks for that, Mandy. Any questions on the use of rubrics?
Can I just, Mandy, is the 80-20 on this rubric?
Yes, it's the second. It's this one. Hold on. View rubric. Yeah, it's this one right here. Isn't it? No.
No, it'd be.
Maybe it is. Yeah, right here.
Oh, okay. All right. So on that one, that's the 80-20 rule that we've gone over, where the student needs to have 80% of what they post on their answers to the discussion question needs to be in their own words. Of course, all their replies pretty much are in their own words, but the answer to the question, they can't just, copy something out of a book or off online. So here is where we mark them down if they don't have 80% in their own words. And if you're calculating it, we had a discussion on this, don't include their references or their reference list when you're doing your calculations. Just grab everything from when they say, hello, this is Bertha, and I'm talking about blah, 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 all the way down to where they say references and list their references. So that's part of the 80-20 rule. Thank you.
All right, any other questions?
Mandy, this is Muhammad. I'm just thinking when we apply the rubric, when we take some point, we add comment why we're taking the point, but then we don't add anything to the general comment. You see what I mean?
Well, you can. Down here in the comments.
We hope that students read them, and instead of adding, okay, thank you for your discussion, we just add, the main point where we take the when we deduct the point from each section, from each criterion.
Yes, that's what I generally see, is a comment in the section that would say you lost 3 points for this reason.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which brings up a good point. If you ever have a late assignment that you did deduct points for, will you please make a note about it? And if you didn't on purpose, will you please make a note about it so that when I'm doing the other report, I don't have to email and ask?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there anything more, Janet?
Yep, the final item on my list is just APA. I'm going to have Lois talk about APA and the 80-20 rule that she was just referencing on the rubric. I just want to say and emphasize that it is so essential that our online instructors hold students accountable to APA formatting. Oftentimes what happens is a student isn't held accountable in a particular course. They get into the next course where the instructor says, hey, this isn't correct, or you need to do this, or here's how we would correct this particular topic or assignment. And they always, 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 without fail, say, hey, my other instructor didn't require this, or my other instructor allowed me to do this. I would like to eliminate that if at all possible. I know students are going to do that. I know that they mislead and misrepresent a lot of times. But we really need to focus in on our APA and hold students accountable to APA formatting. Lois is going to talk a little bit more about that and about the 80-20% rule.
Okay, so I know in our handbook, we've talked about this before, and for some reason, that's why, because Mandy's screen is up here, I guess. I'm trying to find the handbook, because we don't count them off for everything in APA. So I'm going to bring it up here. All right. Can you see my handbook now? Not yet. All right, now you can. All right, I'm going to look for APA. But like Janet said, I can't tell you how many times. In fact, it just happened to me today because a student was using, in fact, several students were using their ebooks. So they just clicked on a button for VitalSource and up comes some kind of a reference and they're using that. But unfortunately, if you go to page 202 in the APA manual, that's not the way you cite an online book or an ebook. So I always tell them just go to your syllabus because the books are listed in their syllabus in APA format, so they could just use that and life would be easier for them. But we all have to be consistent because, of course, that student said, well, here I am in my 7th semester and you're the first instructor that ever said that to me. And I find it hard to believe, but then if you start asking, it's kind of possible sometimes. So these are the things that, remember, we all decided on that we would mark off for APA. And each one of these is only 1 point. So if you're doing an assignment, they need to have a title page with the title, the student's name, their class, or whatever items you want them to have on that title page. They have to have the proper font. So it needs to be Times New Roman. They need to have 1-inch margins. It's double spaced. The paragraphs are indented. This is basic format. So they don't have that, that's a point off. Everybody chose that they should have the running head and page numbers in the correct place and format. That's another error. They have to have their in-text citation, and if it's following a quote, they either have to have the page number, which is P period, or the paragraph number, and that follows quotes, and that's in their in-text citation when they're doing the parentheticals. So that's another point off. So you count those up, and if you look at your rubric, and here's the reference page, and it goes on and tells the different things they need to have. So if you count off, say they forgot to didn't put the date in their in-text citation, and they've got 4 in-text citations, but there's no date. That's just 1 point off. They're making the same mistake over and over. It's a point. Because the whole APA plus usually their grammar and their spelling is only worth maybe 5 points. So if they're doing the same mistake multiple times in their paper or their discussion, they just take 1 point for each item. And you have to have you have to have 1 or 2 errors to a point or whatever your rubric says. Then you just follow the rubric. So references need to be correct as far as author, the date, the title, the way it needs to be in APA. But we decided we don't take off, or there's no point deduction if they forget to italicize, or you know how they're not supposed to capitalize every word in the title. If they do that, we still don't take a point off for it. But you should provide them feedback as to what should be the correct way. And then there's the title page down here. So this is what we count off on an APA. We all need to be consistent. We do need to look, and if they're doing it wrong, give them some feedback. If you're after week 3 or 4, if they're still making the same error, either they're not seeing your feedback or something else is going on. So I'd give them a call and just talk to them about it. So that's basically it for APA. But if we all are on the same page, it'll be so much easier. And if you have a question about that, you should either contact me if you're one of the nursing faculty, or if you're general education, contact Janet, because we all want to be on the same page. So if you're confused about something, just give us a call. And then we already talked about the 80-20 rule. You do need to be looking at that and calculate that. Because if they don't follow it, and I mean, it hurts sometimes. They've got 78% in their own words, but it's still going to be counted off because it needs to be 80% or more. So I always tell them, just paraphrase. Quit putting in so many quotes. And then you sometimes will find they just simply leave off the quotation marks, but you can always just highlight it in the SpeedGrader, right click, and then there's a section in here when you're in the SpeedGrader that says check Google, and you can just click on that and it'll take you usually right to the place on the computer where they found it and copied it. So then you need to give them feedback on that, and if it happens again, then it's a form of plagiarism. So that's basically it for APA. Does anybody have any questions? Quiet Group. If the students are having concerns with APA, send them to their Pages tab. There's videos there. The APA Styles link is there. I would send them to that, the resources we give them, rather than telling them to find a citation builder or anything like that, because it may get them into trouble, because often those are not correct in 6th edition format. Okay, then the only other thing I have on the list to talk about is scholarly resources. We have students back up the statements they make with scholarly literature. We're providing them with an online library, LARN, EBSCOhost, Ovid, but for some reason a lot of them don't use that. Could be they don't understand how to use it. There is a video that we can provide them on how to use it. There is already a little, what is it, like a document in there with pictures on how to use it that Mandy put together. And you could always give the student a call and kind of walk them through it. Also, Camilla, the librarian, can help them with using the library. But they must use scholarly resources. So I spoke with Unitech about what they do in this situation and was informed that they make a list of acceptable websites that students can use and go to as scholarly resources. First, they tell them to use their campus online library that's provided. Then they can use any medical or nursing or professional organizations. And then there's a list of websites. So currently we are working on building this list. It's not ready yet. Well, we're hoping to have it ready and uploaded into Canvas by January start. So that'll be coming out, and we'll share it with you and get input. But right now, all we can do is keep sending them to their online library and letting them know that Wikipedia is not a scholarly resource, and a lot of magazines and blogs and things like that are not scholarly resources. Okay, any other questions on that? No? Okay, Janet, did you have anything else?
That covers my stuff. I would add, though, if you need APA assistance or feel that you need some additional training in that particular area, we do have some resources available to you. Just email me and we'll get you set up with those. And I'm going to turn the time over to Lois.
Okay, so I appreciate everybody that put in for the exchange here. I'm going to set this up and show you our swap that. There we go. Okay, that was our Thanksgiving virtual recipe exchange. And like I said, I really appreciate everybody that sent me their recipes. And that will be coming out, the PowerPoint of that will come out with your minutes. So if there was some recipes, we'll go, oh, I really want to try that. You'll have the recipe to give it a go. And the name of the person in case you have any questions about making the item that they shared. Okay, Jamie Matthews is going to speak, or she was scheduled to speak on a classroom that is inclusive and equitable, but Jamie, I haven't seen you on the list. Are you here? I think we may have to reschedule Jamie, or maybe she'll come in later. I've texted her and given her a phone call. Audrey, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, but she was in the Murray at the Murray campus today, and I was in Layton, so I haven't heard from her.
Okay, well, can you give her a text, maybe?
Yeah, I'll send her a text.
Okay, because if she comes in later, that's fine. We'll just move to her. So, Sheila, are you ready to talk to us about the accessible instructor with boundaries? Sheila?
I am. I was just trying to get my computer off mute. I'm ready.
All right, so I just made you the presenter. If you'll take over.
All righty.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to mute my phone. And if you guys can't hear Sheila after I mute my phone, let me know.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday evening. Couple days before Thanksgiving. So myself and Dr. Burns, we were asked to visit about the accessible instructor with boundaries. And so this is a real quick run view. Lois will have this, well, she actually has this PowerPoint. So if you have any questions, so hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay. So let's talk about accessibility. So of course, we know that the teacher-student relationship is such a central component to learning. We must be able to demonstrate that we care about our students. And part of that caring is being present, social presence, either, if you're in the classroom or online. And of course, communication is key. But we must do so without crossing professional boundaries. And how do we do that? Well, we need to make sure we communicate to our students when and how we are accessible. I know that we have office hours posted in the syllabus, and per the faculty workload policy, we require at least 4 hours of scheduled office hours, and most students know that they can find that within our syllabus. Now, some examples of professional accessibility would be in the classroom, your actual presence within the classroom, or your presence online. We can have Eaglegate College Group email. Students email us through Canvas. Students also text us, call us. We also have online video chat like Skype, our Big Blue Button conferences, and then like this one, such as a GoToMeeting. So what are the purpose of boundaries? Well, boundaries establish each person's role within this helping relationship. So we are a provider of support and not the recipient of support. We need to protect our emotional well-being by defining our limits of our role and responsibility. We protect the person that you're supporting. So as a person offering support, you are in a position of power, and without appropriate boundaries, you could inadvertently misuse that power. Boundaries will also help you feel able to challenge problematic behavior when necessary, and I believe we've all witnessed this before. So by modeling good boundaries, we will be able to also help those that we are supporting strengthen their own boundaries by role modeling. So setting boundaries is a way of protecting ourselves from the small percentage of students who will use up your time and emotional energy. And I put a quote here from my wonderful friend and coach, my mentor, Dr. Susan Luperel, who told me back in 2004, when I first started as a nurse educator, that we're not here to make friends, we're here to make nurses, and we just need to remember that. And I think about that every single day when I communicate with my students. So one of our responsibilities is we need to know when and how to refer our students to other campus resources. We need to be ready to refer them who ask us to solve problems beyond our level of expertise or responsibility. We do that through the college program portal and Canvas. Also, students have a variety of program materials and information available to them. They have access to all course syllabi. They have access to the academic calendar, the nursing program student handbook, various college and program forms, our wonderful electronic libraries, as well as links to nursing websites. Setting boundaries also, we need to establish clear policies about how we handle email. Having these clear policies for ourselves about when and how frequently you will respond to your students' email messages. Now, Eaglegate College Group policy states that we respond to student questions within 24 hours or 48 hours on the weekends. And I know Janet had alluded to that earlier. We need to go over our email policy within the first class or as needed over the course of the semester. We need to set limits on how much of our time we are to devote to specific students, those ones that take up a lot of our energy. We need to make sure that we know how to set that boundary. We need to uphold policies with late papers, assignments, discussions, exams, quizzes. Now, who can grant extensions? Does anybody know who can grant?
The program director?
Directors.
Okay. Yep. So we need to, we as an instructor cannot do that. We need to go through our program director to do that. And then we need to try to avoid becoming the judge of our students' excuses. We're not the judge, the jury. We communicate effectively with them, we refer them effectively, and then our campus directors will let us know what the next step would be. We need to learn respectful and professional ways of managing student incivilities. So no matter how rude a student is, we always need to remain calm and respectful. Never be afraid to give yourself time to think about a situation. And this, as a new educator back in early 2000s, this was hard for me because I remember getting, you're walking down the hall to your classroom, or you're at home online teaching, and you have a student come up to you and say, they're telling you this big story and they can't have their assignment in on time, and can you give me an extension, or can you help me figure this out? And we don't have to respond right away. We can take some time to think about it. And it took me a while to tell myself that's okay to do. Within our policy, we have 24 hours to respond to a student situation. So don't feel that you have to, if it's a situation that you need to put some thought into and get some advice, go ahead and take the time to do that. We also have a program within our Canvas or within Eaglegate College Group where we can make student notes within Campus View, because then we keep a running written, how do I say that, Lois? A running or a continuation of things that might be coming up with certain students. So we have that opportunity to do that, and I would ask you to take that opportunity to write specific student notes. It's okay to take the class temperature on a regular basis. How's our class moving along? How are students doing? Reaching out, that's part of that social presence, either be it in the classroom or being online. Hopefully the outcome would be to be able to catch some dissatisfactions early and keep small problems from becoming large. That's about it. That's all I have. So any questions?
I have a question, Sheila. How
Yes.
would you recommend sort of taking the temperature of your class? Like, how would you poll the students as a whole? And what do you do with that feedback, especially if it's not anonymous, if it's critical? I guess how do you
Yep.
approach that?
That's a great question, Carly. Periodically, I just send out a blanket email saying, you know, here we are, like midterms, week 4, we're halfway through. How is everybody doing? Anything that you need from me to help you progress in this course. If I get feedback that's not anonymous specifically, I always reach out for advice from my campus dean or from my online dean. Because if you're going to ask those types of questions or to get temperature, to ask how is everybody doing, you have to be able to take what they're telling you and do something with that. So I'm not sure if I answered your questions completely. You had a couple more in there, I think. Most of the time it's not anonymous. You know, students will reply and you know who they are. You can always pick up a phone and visit with them. I've also picked up a phone and visited with my online dean about, you know, I'd like to visit with this student, but I want to have you there. They have some great concerns that I think we need to be aware of, and then they can help guide me even further than that as well. So you never want to be, and with EcoGate, you're never by yourself. You've always got support, either from other faculty or our directors. You know, the response that I always get when I reach out is very fast response. I'm never left just hanging and trying to figure out how can I deal with this situation. And then we can always bring it about as a group, as a faculty group, and talk about, you know, I've had a couple different things from students saying that this might work better. What are you thinking? And I think we all value our communication that we have within each other here at EagleGate. And we always want to make, you know, we're here for student success. And we all, you know, if something isn't working, I want to know about it so we can help our students be successful.
Okay, Sheila, this is Mohammed.
Hi, Mohammed. How are you?
Great, thank you. Actually, I'm thinking about the weak student. Most of the students, they are doing very well. But sometimes you can see a couple of students struggling. So I'm wondering what's the best way, you know, to help them, at least to have them, you know, pass the class. I mean, I thought about many ways. Is there a way, you know, to provide them with template, with examples? I mean, how can we motivate them and have them work much better, you know, than what they do?
Great question, Mohammed. You know, social presence is huge, and I think when an instructor reaches out and asks students specifically, you know, how are you doing? I see, you know, and I try never to put their grade in the email, but I do reach out and say, you know, how are you doing? You know, it seems like you're struggling a little bit here and a little bit here, and I'm here for your success. So I would, you know, love to visit with you a little bit more about things that you might need help with. And I've actually done that, and students have responded back. You know, one recently was just, well, I just don't know how to use the LARN. So you make time and you make that appointment with them to go over how to use the LARN. You know, if it's a medical issue, letting them know that it's okay to let us know what is going on with you, because we can't help you if we don't know what's going on. And then we can always refer them to their advisor, make notes, just let them know that, you know, we're here for your success. And even though, you know, you may see us for a short time in the classroom or for a short time online, just know that we do care about you, that we've been in this situation with nursing classes before. And if you're struggling, we want to help you, you know, point them back to the resources that they have within their classroom. Maybe they don't know that they have access to different things. But the biggest thing is just that social presence and letting them know it's okay to let us know what's going on, because we're here to help you. We want to see you succeed. Knowing that not every student is going to succeed, but we definitely can do that. Does that answer your question, Mohammed?
Yeah, yes, thank you, appreciate it, yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, anything?
Okay, well, Sheila, thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving to you. You've given us some good ideas about how we can be accessible, but yet, have our own privacy too. I know if I told the students, "Oh, call me anytime," but they will. They'll call you at 11 o'clock at night. I'm in bed already, so I had to set some boundaries like you talked about. All right, so let me turn it back here. So now I'm going to turn over to, this is Carly and Diane going to talk. So which one of you starts first?
I'll go first. I think I'm listed on the agenda.
Right on.
First.
Making you the presenter, and you're going to share with us mindfulness and stress reduction. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so take it away, Carly.
Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm just gonna. Okay, so this whole thing started, we attended a conference, it would have been last January, February, because I was very pregnant. And one of the presenters discussed this book. He was discussing students and student success and how to motivate students to do well. And this book came up. It's called Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction. It's a great book. I highly recommend it. So I bought it. I just wanted to kind of see what it was all about. And it's been really interesting. So we kind of talked about it a little bit in our online faculty meeting. And so here it is. I am no expert on mindfulness. It's a topic that I sort of discussed and dabbled in a little bit in graduate school. Mindfulness related to birth and eating and things like that. But I think it's just an interesting concept for both nursing students and instructors. I think we could all sort of benefit from this. So that's kind of how this started. So has anyone heard of mindfulness? Is this a topic anybody's sort of familiar with? No?
I've heard of it, but I'm interested in learning more.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of yeah.
Thanks, Carly, for talking about it. It's great. It's something we need to be aware of.
Yeah. So Jared said he uses it. That's awesome. Okay, so some familiarity. I had to learn a lot about this. I found a lot of studies and got kind of deep with this book, but it's a really interesting concept. So there is a lot more. This PowerPoint will just kind of skim the surface. So if you would like to talk more about it, I would love to talk to you. So what is it? Being mindful basically means participating in exercises that allow you to pay attention to your surroundings and basically to be present in the moment. And that can include even uncomfortable moments, so moments of stress or discomfort. It basically is sort of owning your feelings in the moment. So some of the techniques are yoga, breathing exercises, meditations, movements, and focus. They allow a person to become more aware of their feelings. And by accepting your feelings in the moment through time, the goal of mindfulness is to become more able to cope with them, even if they're overwhelming, which certainly would have helped me in nursing school and graduate school. So it's just a good, just kind of practice for a lot of different things. So, it's going to change. Okay, so does it work? There's actually a lot of evidence for mindfulness. There's been a lot of studies. I just did a quick search of this on a database, and a lot of different things came up here. It's been studied in a lot of different professions and situations. Especially, I noticed a lot of evidence for athletes, endurance athletes, competition athletes. This is used really frequently, which made a lot of sense to me. I've done long distance running, and so mindfulness is a necessity. So it makes sense a lot in that application to me. It's also been studied significantly in healthcare workers because this is another area where we all know burnout is high, especially depending on your specialty. It can take a huge toll. Unfortunately, sometimes healthcare workers go to unhealthy coping mechanisms, whether that be alcohol intake or unhealthy food practices or different things like that. So it's been studied a lot among them as well. Senior citizens, and a lot in chronic pain and disease. People with terminal illnesses, chronic pain like fibromyalgia or other issues. There's a lot of really interesting, promising evidence for this. So just a little quote here from that book. Taking part in mindfulness-based stress reduction also helped caregivers better cope with the double burdens of earning a living and attending to somebody who needs care. So it was studied specifically in people who care for someone, and it worked. So it's just kind of a broader awareness of your body and those social signals, and so it can help with positivity, as that quote says. Any questions so far? Any thoughts? Okay. So how is this helpful for our students? It's been specifically studied in nursing and healthcare students, and there are a lot of potential benefits. One of the biggest issues is, I feel like, for students in the current day and age is stress. As we know, it's a common and core complaint. I found an interesting article that said nursing students still do not have the required skills to manage stress, and they experience this as a major challenge in their clinical education. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel like as an instructor, I don't have a lot of good tools or tactics for managing that chronic stress. And this can be detrimental to students, and I want to be able to help as much as possible. As Sherry talked about, Sheila, we have to have those boundaries, but we are also here for their success, and I feel like this is a big part of a hindrance to success at times. So, and it can, as it says there, lead to a decreased performance and take a lot of physical and psychological tolls. So mindfulness exercises can come in handy here, and they can be incorporated as a method for stress reduction, both in the classroom and outside of it. So practical integration of mindfulness-based stress reduction, particularly in the classroom. I found some interesting different articles that discussed how people integrate mindfulness. And some of them you would have to be physically present, but it's just sort of a place to start. So as you can see here, the in-class contemplation just involves turning off the lights and instructing students to take a few deep breaths, move any part of their body they feel like they need to move, really become in tune with their body and their breathing and how they're feeling. And then after a few minutes, ask them to really focus on the course ahead. So just taking this few moments to contemplate and release tension and stress before a class. A lot of instructors in the articles I found felt that it really helped to have a more focused and productive class. So just a few minutes, it might be worth it to, have students who are ready to go. I think this could be particularly helpful if you had a lecture in the middle of the day after students have already attended a lecture or two and they're sort of feeling burnt out. Maybe just this refocusing could be helpful. This guided meditation on a raisin, it was kind of a funny exercise I saw in multiple places, including the book that was the basis of this PowerPoint. So students are instructed to just silently contemplate a raisin for 10 full minutes. And I know it sounds really silly, but this is kind of the basis of mindfulness. Take a look at it. It's an ordinary raisin, but the touch, smell, and then finally taste it and chew it. And taking that 10 full minutes to contemplate one single raisin can help bring awareness to small objects in life. So, help heighten the power of attention and self-awareness and just get students thinking about that sort of thing. Journaling, a lot of different articles I found felt that allowing students a short time to journal before class or after a particularly intense discussion, nothing formal and nothing that's necessarily graded, just allowing time for reflection and can give them material to contribute to class discussions. And then silence, which I thought was kind of an interesting one, but strategic use of silence to allow just students to reflect and become more aware. And it may be a little bit uncomfortable. I kind of thought in a lecture this might be awkward, but that's sort of the point, is just to allow for reflection and silence and contemplating their own thoughts. So those were 4 interesting practical integrations that I saw. There are lots of mindfulness resources. I found some great apps. I checked all of these out, and there are different ones here. I won't go through all of their accolades, but Aura, Breathe, Buddhify, and Calm is actually, it's very highly rated. It was one of the top apps by multiple tech companies. A lot of tech companies are buying these for their employees to help combat some of the burnout and stress from their day-to-day life. So most of them have a free version, and then obviously you can pay for the upgraded. The Buddhify one was just a small cost of $4.99 for one time, which I feel like would be worth it, even though they do cost. Sometimes it's, if you pay for something, maybe it's used more if you felt like you needed to get your money out of it. So these were all really interesting. Most of them have a component for meditation as well as sleep support. So, and combating stress and identifying stress triggers. And then many of them had, the Calm one had just 3-minute short meditations for acutely stressful situations, which a nursing student could do, you know, at their clinical, just take a little break if they were feeling overwhelmed or stressed. It's just an interesting idea to help with some of the issues that we see sometimes. And then a few books. The one that I based this on is in the top right there, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction, the MBSR program for enhancing health and vitality. So this goes along with an 8-week program. And there's another one there at the bottom here, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world. So there are actually like courses on this. And then I kind of get the impression he's sort of the guru on mindfulness. This Andy Puddicombe, Full Catastrophe Living, is often cited. So, any questions or comments?
I think we should have opened the whole thing with one of these mindfulness activities. Would have helped us all center.
I should have started with one, I know. If we were all together, I would have had you all look at a raisin for 10 minutes.
Is this part of mindfulness that we're going to have Thanksgiving dinner, of course, on Thursday, and I'll be cooking and we'll be cleaning, and then all the family comes over and 8 dogs are barking, and everybody seems to get kind of tense. So I got Maggie Morris, who used to teach online with us, to bring a singing bowl, and she's going to use the singing bowl, and we're going to center ourselves and do some deep breathing and just be calm and reflect on Thanksgiving before we start all of our activities and binge eating.
I love that. That's incredibly mindful. There's a lot of evidence in this book as well about mindfulness practices during and before eating. Oh. That's a focus for some of this research, is people who struggle with binge eating or eating disorders. Mm-hmm. And there's some good evidence that this practice can help people really appreciating their food, taking in the different smells and textures, and it's really interesting stuff. So I think that's wonderful. Mindfulness, yes, taking in the reason for the meal. Great.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything they would like to comment or question? Okay, if not, is Diane Morrison ready to talk to us about maintaining a welcoming environment from the first day to the last?
And I am ready.
All right, let me turn it over.
Just let me know if you're, I have it up.
Hold on. All right, so now you have to click share.
Okay, here we go. Do you see it?
We see it.
Okay, it is there. Well, I'm wishing I had a raisin right now, but I think I will go use a raisin after I'm all done and see if I can make it last for 10 minutes. It sounds like a great idea. So basically what I'm going to talk about is maintaining a welcoming environment from the first day to the last. And I based most of this information on a class I took when I was getting my master's certification in adult online education, and the instructor was Kay Lehman. She's the author of Making the Move to E-Learning, and she taught the class Creating a Collaborative Community Online. It was a really good class. It was probably one of the favorite classes that I had during that year class certification. I also had the opportunity to hear Kay speak at the National Distance Learning Conference, and I would definitely say she is a very knowledgeable author of, trying to get this to move and it's not, of online teaching. So one of the things that she talked about in her class is that when you are an online instructor, one of the most important times to engage your class is in the beginning. She actually believed in the 70-30 rule, where it said 70% of your time should be spent in the first 2 weeks engaging your students to make them realize that your class is really an important. And she discussed communicating and getting your class off to a great start. So one of her suggestions was to send an email before the class begins. And I know at Eaglegate we have a short turnaround time, but we could send an email over the weekend. We usually end a class on Wednesday and begin the class on Monday. So over the weekend, send an email to the students and welcome them to the course. Her suggestion was to keep it short. And she also suggested including the name of the course in the subject line so the students tune into it so they don't think it's spam and they actually do read the email. So that was one of her suggestions, in just welcoming the student to the class. Then, of course, I'm kind of tagging on to what Sheila said, and that is providing contact information that we do have at Eaglegate via our instructor contact information and our Eaglegate Cafe. And she's including email, phone numbers. And she also stressed letting students know when you are willing to take their calls. So we're in different time zones. And so if you're in an Eastern time zone, you might want to stop the calls at 8 o'clock at night, unless you're a night person. You might go later. But letting the student know when you would be willing to take calls or texts. And then also providing the student with what you like to use as contact: text, email, and Skype, although Skype usually is saved for conferences or group types of interactions. So this was actually the contact information I did make for that class, but just as an example, including when I couldn't be contacted. I may not answer emails over the weekend within 24 hours. I do have my Eaglegate email set to my phone so that whenever I get an email, it rings twice and it kind of alerts me. So I usually do get back to my emails rather quickly, unless I'm tied up in something else. Including in the introduction, you should also include something about yourself, your family. Let the person or students know that you are a real person and want to get to meet them. There are other ways to introduce yourself, and that is letting the students see a picture of you, and that can be either through YouTube video, Adobe Spark, or VoiceThread. Those are the three I'm going to talk about, and then if anyone else has an idea, I hope they will add it. Making a YouTube video is really relatively easy. I use Screencast-O-Matic. It can be loaded onto your computer, and it is free up to 15 minutes. And then I upload the YouTube video to my YouTube channel. So it's easy to do. Probably the hardest thing to do about a YouTube video is you want it to be perfect. The first time I made a YouTube video myself, I probably did it 20 times, and I did not like it even after that. But when you walk into a classroom, in a face-to-face classroom, it's not going to be perfect. So you just have to realize it's a connection to your student and you, and letting them see you and maybe in a different situation, sitting at the kitchen table or a desk or something. But that is one way to introduce yourself. And you're very lucky. YouTube videos don't work in these things, so you do not have to watch the one I made. The other one that I actually like a lot is Adobe Spark, and I do have an example of this one, but I will have to wait to the end to show it because I have to put it in the edit mode. The negative to Adobe Spark is you have to have an Apple device such as an iPhone, iPad, or Mac. You can purchase it online, but I think it's like $9.99 or something like that. But what I like about Adobe Spark is that you have control over what's taking place. So you can do voiceover slides, you can add pictures, you can add text, you can make corrections to your pictures, and you can change your recording. So it's really easy to use, and in that way you can post a very short video that introduces yourself to the students. And this is the one I'm going to show when we get at the end, and I can put it in edit mode. The other one that other instructors have used, and I have seen used, is VoiceThread. And VoiceThread is kind of like a wiki. You can post the information yourself, and then the students can actually interact on the VoiceThread. The unfortunate piece to VoiceThread is you need to subscribe, and it is a little bit pricey, but I know that it is very effective online. So I'm going to take a break here and ask if anyone has any other ideas about how to introduce themselves with media other than the ones I talked about.
How about that Padlet one you shared? You did.
The Padlet is nice. The Padlet is sort of like a Pinterest board, and that way then you just have a photo of yourself. But I really like Padlet, and I found the students, and I should have put an example of that. The students, and I didn't do it because I didn't know for FERPA reasons if I could post pictures of the students. That's why I did not do it. But it's like a Pinterest board on your Eaglegate Cafe, and the students post pictures of themselves and just write a little blurb about themselves, and that has been a really positive way to introduce us and interact with the students in Eaglegate Cafe.
Okay, maybe we can send instructions on that in the minutes, so if anybody wants to try Padlet.
Okay, definitely. You can change it. And what I found that you cannot make separate Padlets, but you can make, like if you're teaching 2 courses, you probably would use the same Padlet for the same course. But that's kind of nice because then they get to meet the students in both courses. But I think it's a very effective tool. All right, so beyond introducing ourselves, where else can we keep the classroom open and engaging? And that is in the discussion threads. And actually the discussion threads are probably our most interactive piece in an online class. And what we want to do in the discussion threads is be present in the threads, but without being overwhelming. And so in the nursing online classes, we use either 15% or no more than 10 posts by us in a discussion thread. And that's actually a pretty good number because then you can post questions and then respond to the questions you ask. So to keep the discussion flowing, we do ask critical thinking questions, we clarify, we direct, and then if needed, we might have to consider, look for incivility and then discuss that with the student. But in order to promote critical thinking in the discussions, we need to use questions and prompts to which the student can respond. And Kay Lehman was very big on using a certain way to ask these questions, which I will get into in very shortly. So in nursing, critical thinking is important, and the discussion threads are the opportunity for us as instructors to role model how to be good critical thinkers and encourage students to broaden their thoughts. So how do we get students to increase critical thinking on the discussion board? Well, we actually offer them the problem or the question. Then we increase their thinking by asking the questions, and they come to a solution. And Deanon wrote I'm going to actually go to the next slide first, and then I'll get back to that one. So when we're looking at critical thinking, we want to be in the apply, analyze, and evaluate of critical thinking. So those are the questions we want to ask students. And Deanon actually talks about if you post a question with only one answer, it is not really stimulating students, and actually they can all answer the one question, and there's no reason for students to go on. But if you ask a question or multiple questions, it usually is a way to engage students into more critical thinking and more activity. So what the suggestions were is to, two ways you can go about doing that is to take the original discussion question and break it down and have the students break into small groups and ask 4 questions related to the major discussion question, and I'll show you an example of that, or ask the students to respond differently to the one topic. So this is an example of a question where there is the question at the top is the major question, and then it is broken down into students by their last name to answer it in a different method. And then the student should respond to someone who answered the question differently. So this way you're increasing critical thinking in the discussion board and giving students a broader range of opportunity to discuss a certain topic. The other one is expanding the question, and this one just talks about explore concepts of wellness with people from diverse populations, and then it says choose one population and discuss what might influence their definition or belief of wellness. Provide one example, and here the difference is choose a different population from one already discussed. So encouraging students to take on a new topic and expand on that. So what Kay Lehman did in her collaborative communication is she was really into increased critical thinking using prompts, extenders, and redirection. And the prompts are basically the questions we ask the student in the discussion thread. So asking open-ended questions, multiple questions, examples, different articles, research articles, that type of thing. And this is an example of a prompt. Discuss one factor the nurse might consider in the delegation process. And then I'm going to be expanding on this as we go along. So what's an extender? And this is, the extender is our role as an instructor. It's taking the question to the next level of critical thinking. It's asking a question to take it deeper. In our case, because we have so many nursing students, it's relating it to nursing students and getting the whole group involved. So building on that question, then you might ask the students after they've done their original post, have you ever had the opportunity to delegate to someone? What does it feel like when someone gives you a delegated task and you don't agree to that task? Give me an example of something you've observed in your clinical setting of a task you saw delegated. So you're expanding their thinking. One of the things I like to use is, you're the nurse manager. What are you going to do in this situation? And give them a situation. And that way the students can be involved, get excited about the topic, add their thoughts. Redirection is usually basically used when students are sometimes going in the wrong direction. And on occasion, I have seen where a student will post, and the first post, they go off in a little bit wrong direction, and then everybody follows that direction. So it's getting people back to, what are you really asking? Did they include all the questions from the discussion thread? Did they include the incorporating an article, in some cases the nursing process? You're redirecting the students to get back on task. This is a good place for a video or an example from a website, but again, you have to keep in mind fair use and copyright laws. So this is an example of a redirection question based on your delegation. What types of problems may you encounter when you are delegating to a member of the healthcare team? So we've taken the concept of delegation and expanded it, extended it, and redirected it. So this format of redirecting is really helpful, again, when students have strayed from the original prop or haven't answered the whole question, and you give them an opportunity to add in their reply the rest part of the question. Does anybody have any other thoughts or ideas on the discussion threads as far as engaging students? Okay, then we will go on to how do we keep the conference or the classroom open and engaging. And another suggestion by various online educators is to provide prompt feedback to students when either through emails or through the gradebook. In your rubrics, offering suggestions for ways to improve and giving them sites to go to for ways to improve. One area that I know I use in APA format is to, if they're having difficulty, is to give them maybe a site in APA style and say, go visit this site. This is an example how it should be done. Other things that you can do to keep the classroom open and engaging is conference sessions via Canvas or GoToMeetings, the Blue Conference. You could schedule a Skype or a Google Hangout. You can actually have a group of people in Google Hangouts, so you could do that. And then sending your announcements via email. So if you really want to catch the students' attention, is not only putting it in the announcements, but adding it to their email. So Rodman states, he's the author of How to Provide Meaningful Feedback to Online Students, states that feedback fosters reflection, correction, and performance extension. It also increases student motivation as they feel that the instructor is interested in their success. So providing feedback in a timely manner is very important so they can make changes for the next week's discussion board, and also providing various ways of feedback such as verbal or written, and we have the opportunity to do either via our gradebook and discussion. And Rimmer, who authored 5 Habits of an Effective Instructional Designer, says that we should stay curious and we should act like a consultant. So staying curious means we stay abreast of our topics and be knowing more than the student knows, reading what's new in the area, adding to our own knowledge base, and we are the consultant to the student and offer them more information, and especially if it's based on research. So, do you have any ways to stimulate an open environment, or do you have any questions about doing this in your classroom? I saw there were some notes going on, but I'm not that good at multitasking and reading at the same time.
Well, Adam had asked, how do you get the students to come in before Sunday night at midnight? I mean, it's like, and he has the same problem I have, is we want to get in and we want to get into the conversation and get things moving forward. And we have to kind of wait until Thursday when everybody has forced to show up. And then there's just like no action for a while until Sunday. So how do you get them to come in more during the week so that our conversation with them is more balanced?
If I can add to that, I also feel like I'm speaking with the same students all the time because I have the same few that come in early. And so I have a hard time balancing speaking to the other students because I'm trying to get it going, but it's always the same few.
What I have done is I try to get on early so that those students that do get on early also get attention. And then Thursday morning, I add the majority of my questions for the week, because that's, I know when they're all going to be on. And then I guess the idea is to ask good questions and stimulating questions so the students want to go and read what you're talking about and get excited about the materials that are in the discussion. But I know that's still a problem.
They do get excited, though, if you've read something new, or like when Mohammed and I put in about that new organ system. I mean, the students just really like that. So, like you said, if we can research, keep abreast of your topics, and bring the latest thing in and ask them questions. Oh, have you heard about this? Then they run out and look for it and actually talk about it.
Right. I think if they could see the discussions as a good place, a good learning place to be, and excited about it. I have students that will write back and say, that's a great question. Oh, I never thought of that. So stimulating them to think outside the box, make them think like a nurse, that type of thing.
Yeah, sometimes when I contact or communicate with the student and ask them questions, especially in pathophysiology, when I go deep in my questions and I ask about the cellular changes, the molecular biology behind any disorder, they avoid my questions. So I think to make it simple, this is a key. Make the question simple and interesting. We go deep in molecular biology, and they may go and respond to another student and make it more superficial. So that's my feeling. So I'm trying to make my questions easy, interesting, and I stimulate students to look for some information. Sometimes I provide references at the tail of my question.
You know, another way that could work is you tie questions on your discussion board to a test, and then they're very interested in getting on the discussion board because that's where they're finding some answers too. I haven't done it here, but that is a way to do it. All right, do we have any other questions?
I don't have a question, but just to kind of add to what Mohammed was saying, I've added some sort of NCLEX style questions to some of my discussions. I've just gone through NCLEX test books and things like that. And some of them I have to reword to kind of make them work. And I also say, please provide your rationale so that they get full points in the discussion for it. But I think it's, like Mohammed was saying, it's simple enough that they respond to them, but it's hopefully stimulating them to, you know, think a little bit more since they have to provide the rationale. That seemed to be helpful for me.
That's a really good idea. So these were my resources, but I was going to see if I could show you that Adobe Spark. Hold on one second. Oops, it may not work. I thought it would. Oop. I think I lost my PowerPoint. There it is. Well, I'm not quite sure I got it to work. Oh, here we go. So it's a really easy thing to do.
Is your sound on your computer?
Yeah, isn't it showing?
The sound's not coming through.
Better?
Welcome to this class. You will find a great addition to your nursing educational journey.
Could you hear any of that?
Yeah, we can hear. We're hearing somebody having a snack, but we're also heard a little bit of it.
Yeah. It could be because I have my microphone in, and so probably didn't play as well. But it's an easy thing to do. I just wanted, you can make it in just a few minutes. And
this is the one that doesn't cost money or does cost money?
It doesn't cost any money if you have an iPad, iPhone, or Mac.
Okay.
But if you don't, you have to pay. I think it was $9.99.
Oh, okay.
Or something. So anyway.
All right.
All right. That's it.
Well, thank you, Diane. Anybody else have any questions or anything about this? Everybody's so quiet.
I know. Got to jump around.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Let me kick this back over here, and then we'll talk about the assignment. That's fine.
Do I have to make you the presenter, or can you do it?
I'm on it.
You're on it? Okay.
Yeah, we practiced today. All right, so come down here, and this quarter's Who Knew It exercise will be supporting diverse learners. So if you just go into Who Knew It and look for this, search for that, you'll find this learning module. And once you've completed it, make sure you get your certificate over to Janet Head, and she'll make sure those get filed. Okay. Now we're open for faculty tips and insight. You guys are all out there in the trenches working with our students, and this is where we get to learn the great ideas. Has anybody got anything cool that they've been doing or know about that could help us make our classrooms more welcoming?
Hi, Lois. This is Sheila Maiden. Sorry. On the supporting diverse learners, when would you like this completed?
Usually we have to have it done before your next in-service. So you have a quarter, you have 3 months. If you wait too long, you'll forget. So just stick it on your calendar and remind yourself, and you can get it done. Okay, anybody else? Anybody got any tips for us?
No.
Has anybody
I'm tipped out.
Has anybody tried Padlet, or how about using the? I know some people have actually in the threads been able to put their voices or audio in the threads. Has anyone done that?
I've done that.
Okay, how'd you do that?
There's a button that you just press in the discussion threads, and you can record yourself. You can choose to put your face on, or you can cover up your face and just have your voice. But I did that. I had some success with it. They do have to listen to it, but some of the students really liked it.
I think somebody else said they had tried it too.
I used it with grading feedback, and I think the students liked it. I got some good positive feedback from it, and I think they like hearing your voice and seeing your picture and seeing you as a real person. So I tried it for grading feedback.
All right, so here's the thread, and I'm going to hit reply. And where am I going to be able to put my voice in?
Where did I find it? No. Wait a minute, I have to go on mine to look.
It's at the very end. It's in the rubric when you're grading.
Oh,
when you're grading.
You can't put your voice in the thread.
No, I did it on the threads, but I got to look in mine.
Is it that down arrow? No, right next to that big red T, maybe. See that big red T?
External tools. Twitter,
okay, no.
Dropbox.
No. So the one to the right of it is, yeah, that one.
Record. There we go. We can record. Okay. So if we click that, we can talk in the threads or record.
And you can also, yeah, you can do voice or you can do video.
So I could actually video myself showing them something or showing them an article and just talk to them like that.
Or you can just dance in front of the camera.
I don't think that would be appropriate in our threads. That's a nice thought.
I'm just teasing. But no, yeah, it's a video or voice. Yep.
I think that's great. I'm going to try some of that because I think a lot of times maybe they're not reading everything, but if they see something different, they may click on that.
You know what else I liked about it is you can say so much more than you can write.
Yeah.
So I like that. I'm trying to see if I can get Padlet up here if you want to.
Oh, okay.
And I've given feedback too, like Anne has, and it works really well.
Yeah, I really like the audio feedback. Okay, Naylin says, I did the thing where I look at the questions on the exams and try to ask questions about the topic. That's a good idea because we don't want to give away the questions, but you can sure get them talking about the topic, and they'll be more ready for the test. Carly says it might be good for APA feedback to give it to them verbally rather than trying to type all that out. Find it difficult to put all the feedback in the text sometimes.
Yes.
So, Lois, I have a question.
Sure.
I have students that sometimes get busy or life gets in the way and they don't get to post by Wednesday. So then I usually post or write to them and say, you know, make sure you get your posts in by Sunday. Well, I found a couple times that students, they'll post the replies by Sunday, but I think they're not going to get any points anyway for posting an initial response. So is it okay to tell them, you know, make sure you post your initial response so you can get as many points as possible by Sunday?
Well, absolutely. And I wouldn't even tell them to wait till, I'd tell them get your response in, because the whole part of contribution, that 5 points, is whether or not they've answered the question. So
right.
If they don't answer that question, they lose 5 points there and 5 points for being late. It's better to get 20 points possible than only 15.
So I guess I didn't ask my question right. Is it okay if I make an announcement to my classes? And the only reason why I'm saying that is because I think some students think that if they miss that Wednesday deadline, there's no point in posting their initial response.
And definitely an announcement in order, and then I would email that announcement as well, and I would just say, I just wanted to clarify with you that, you know, if you don't bother to put that in, or if you miss the Wednesday deadline and you don't come and put your answer in, you're going to lose more points.
Right. I think because I feel bad when they just come in on Sunday and they, yeah, okay.
Well, sometimes you're going to see they'll come in on Sunday, and if you look at the timestamps, it's like 10 o'clock at night. So what there is some problems with time management, and they only have time to put in a quick response to peers, but really don't have time to go out and do their reading and research and put an actual post in.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to drop an email and shoot it to you just for a review, because I want to give them as many tips and tricks for earning as many points, and I think they're missing some ways to do that.
Right, that's a good idea.
Lois, I have Padlet on my screen if you wanted to quick switch it over.
One moment, please.
Alrighty. Hopefully the share will come on the top.
And Diane, I can send you those instructions, or Lois, the instructions for Padlet if you want.
Send me the instructions.
Yeah, okay, can you see it?
Yes.
This is Padlet, and then, can I scroll down now? Here we go. Hold on. Oh, it's not letting me scroll down. Oops. Anyway, it's full. It's not, I don't know why I can't. Oh, there we go. Okay. So I really thought this was fun to see all pictures of students, and they seem to like it too.
So the students click on the link and they go in here, and this is where they're posting their introduction in the Eaglegate Cafe, and they're putting in a picture, and then, like you said, it looks like Pinterest where they can see everybody.
Yep. And they really, I got positive feedback from doing this. So.
You don't want to do it in every class, because what the thing is we have Eaglegate Cafe in every class, and I would say by semester 3 they're not showing up. So we tried to pull this, and we got together as a team as to which classes we put it in, so that if it was in every class, then they would simply post the same thing or stop posting. So if you have any other ideas how you can make the Eaglegate Cafe interesting, please let us know, because we want to try different things to get the students actually involved and engaged in this. Has anybody else done anything different in Eaglegate Cafe?
Just pictures. I post a few pictures and then ask them to post pictures as well.
That's a good.
And I mixed it up and said, tell me what your favorite movie is, and I talked about my favorite movie, and they seem to like that too, just to talk about something different.
You know what? I think I'm gonna, in that nutrition class, maybe we should change that to, instead of talk about your favorite food, show us a picture of your favorite meal.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
Might bring them into nutrition.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Diane. I love it. It was really interesting. And that's me with the giant potato from Idaho. With my sister.
That's you in there, really?
Yeah, I'm the cheese head. And
Oh, you're the.
Dorothy's the broccoli, and
Oh, I didn't.
is the other one.
Who's that? Is that who's the?
Sharon is in the wheelchair.
Okay. I have to scroll down. Oh, that is cool. See, and that's fun.
Yeah, well, that's Idaho for sure. Okay, thank you everybody for all your input and your participation today, and for showing up.
Dr. Lewis, sorry, one last question. It's about communication with the student. We do have in Canvas chat and conferences. So I am wondering if they will be like some rebuilding the system or adding some sort of camera and see students face to face, talk to them. Is there any way to incorporate the camera and also sharing the screens?
You can share your screen in the conference in Canvas. Mandy, do you know anything about sharing the cameras, using webcams in the conferences?
Yeah, you can totally do that.
All right.
Okay, I will ask you how. You know, in my email.
There's the function straight in Canvas that if you're in the conferences, there's the big blue button.
Well, Mandy, you want me to share your screen?
Sure.
Okay, making you the presenter.
Let me close out of Netflix. So, just kidding. Okay.
You're too funny.
Okay, so this is the first class that's up. So let's pretend. Okay, so in any discussion, assignment, anything like that, you can, oh, I don't want to do this one. My test course is not anymore. Okay, so let's just say that I'm replying to this thread. This button, no, not that one. This one, right here. This will be in announcements, it's in discussions, it's in anything where there's a reply. And I don't have Flash on this particular browser, but it would pop up a message saying, can I use your stuff? And you say yes, and then you just literally record. If you've got the camera, it works.
Okay.
How about
Thank you.
The big blue button conference? Can we see the students, or can they only see us?
I've never actually tried it, so I don't know, but I would assume that if they have a camera, maybe? I would doubt it.
Okay, because Sheila says she's not been able to share, or rather, what is it, Sheila? You said you can't use your webcam in big blue button.
Well, no, when you make a conference and then you click on the link and then you've got students coming in, you can see them coming in. I've never been able to share my screen, like if I want to go through an assignment or something. I've never been able to share my screen now.
Well, I have.
It might be because I have a Mac. I do not know.
I don't know, because
I've never been able to do that.
I have. I had never been in the past, but I just had a big blue button conference and it immediately let me share my screen. Adam says he's got a Mac and it's fine. But what did you say, Adam? Can you talk to us? What's going on with Java?
So
it is up to Adam. Yeah.
So when I'm on a Mac as well, and when I do my conferences through the Canvas thing, I don't know. it always just asks me to make sure if my Java's up to date. I don't know. Oh, the one thing with a Mac is that there comes a point where you have to go into your security system and give permissions. So
that's what I was thinking. I bet you I have to figure out how to do that.
yeah. So once you go to share your screen, if you go to your system preferences, there's the little security and privacy thing. It looks like a little house with a combination lock on the front. If you click on that, you have to. It'll prompt you within there, asking you to allow this thing to see your screen, and then you just click OK, and then it works. So
okay. Okay.
So yeah. So next time you're in there, once you've like okayed the Java thing, hop into your system preferences and go to your security and privacy thing, and you'll be able to unlock it.
Now, do you have to do that each time, Adam, or once I do it, then I can always allow it and I should be fine?
I've had to do it every single time, but it only takes a handful of seconds. I don't know. It is annoying that you have to do it every time, but but that's what I've had to do.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mandy, what are you doing?
Lois, you have your webcam on, just so you know.
I'm trying. Yeah, so here's the allow, and you have to tell it yes. And now, as you can hear, me and probably my children making a lot of noise.
You can also do webcam on the big blue button too.
Yeah.
If you click right to the right of the phone, there's a webcam picture. You just click on that and you'll put your video on. Right
here.
Yep.
Okay, well, how come you got mine showing? And am I an invitee or something into your meeting?
Oh, I see your webcam too.
So we could be able to see the students.
Yes.
I'm not seeing you on here. I'm seeing you. Are you doing the big blue button right now?
Her camera's right there.
Hi, Lois.
Oh, now you see me. Now you don't.
I knew she had a sticker over there.
It's okay. It's okay. As long as it's working.
They had everybody all of a sudden was showing up. I'm in my pajamas and they're all dressed to kill at some conference. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I quick stuck that on there.
My sticker's orange.
You got a sticker on yours too?
Oh yeah.
Take your stickers off. Maylin says, I have used the big blue button for conferences. I can't find it here. Meetings, and never could get it to save and play back. Okay, when you have to record it, so you have to click record, and then you have to, at the end, when you log out of it, you turn it off, then go back to where you had the conference and close out there. And it takes about 30 minutes, and then all of a sudden the link will be there, Maylin, and the students will be able to click on it and look at it, but it's only there for, 2 weeks. Yes, Adam's right. It says at the beginning, when you're in the big blue button conference in the beginning, you've got to click to record it. Select the option to allow recording. And you know what we do is I'll call up another faculty member and we'll do a big blue button practice together so that I'm like, okay, now I am pushing the right buttons and I'm doing it right. So I'm sure Mandy wouldn't mind doing a practice with you. I wouldn't mind. We can try it out to make sure that you're getting it recorded, that you're able to see students if you want to, and they can see you, and just try different things.
Okay.
All right. Anybody else have anything? Any more words of wisdom? Are we all ready for Thanksgiving?
No.
Not quite yet.
Oh, it'll be okay. You'll just have to center yourself and
Mindfulness. I'm going to practice. I'm getting a raisin.
well, we're going to have our singing bowl, so we'll all be calm and relaxed. And if that doesn't work, there's always champagne.
Say hi to Maggie.
I sure will. Okay, well, thank you everybody for all your participation. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and we'll see you again.
Yeah, thank you so much. Oh,
Thanks.
Bye.
bye.
Everybody.
Bye.